it's a story of a lawyer in Nigeria who's been arrested and I'll say persecuted by another lawyer, which is ridiculous, right? Which is ridiculous, right? A lawyer, a senior lawyer is I don't know what's itching my nose, but let me wipe this off real quick. Another lawyer is persecuting another lawyer. Isn't that something though? It only, it happens in Nigeria, right? Where a lawyer can just call the police, and or anybody, not just a lawyer, anybody can just call the police and get you arrested. And the police is just gonna succumb. It's just gonna do the biddings of this person, which I think is ridiculous, right? Hey man, Nigeria is just a weird country, that's for sure, and it's a shame, man. It's just a shame, man. It's also the same story or the same case of Speed Darlington and Burna Boy, right? Where Burna Boy claims to have been defamed by this individual, Speed Darlington, and the next thing he could think of was to arrest this guy, have this guy arrested, and the police does the bidding of these people, private citizens. Because you have money, you just go arrest anybody you think you can oppress. And the ridiculous part in the Burna Boy's case is this is someone who always talks about freedom and all this, and injustice and the land and all that. But then you go ahead and do the same thing you sing against, right? Now, how can we believe you? Right? That's the average Nigerian. A little power that you give to them, they misuse it, they mishandle it, and the rest is history, right? And that's, in my opinion, that's why we see the country the way it is. That's why the country is just stagnant, because everybody or most people in the country are just wishing for it to be their turn. They're not mad at the government. They just want it to be their turn so they can do the same things that the current or the government is doing to other people. That's just ridiculous, man. I think it's ridiculous, that's for sure. In the case of Dele Farotimi, I think let me see if I have a story here for him. All right, I'm going to share this tab and add this one to stage. Let's see. This is from the People's Gazette. The People's Gazette's newspaper or publishing. It says here on Wednesday, the police arraigned Mr. Farotimi on 12 counts of criminal defamation. What the hell is criminal defamation? Right? These people come up with trumped up charges, right? What is criminal defamation, right? What is that? Is that even a thing? Defamation is a civil matter, but you want to somehow put criminal behind it and want to make it criminal. You can't. Though. Criminal defamation. Okay, according to Google says criminal defamation is the act of harming someone's reputation through words, signs, or images with the intent to cause harm. Defamation is general area of law that covers false statements that damage a person's reputation. Calling someone a criminal or corrupt on social media, posting a one-sided story, publishing fake stories about someone to prove defamation, false statement that claims to be, hey man, are so harmful that they consider defamatory per se. But hey, listen, man, I don't think defamatory is criminal on its own. It's a civil issue, right? You think someone defamed you? Hey man, in the US at least, you call the police and say, "Oh, this person has defamed me." The police is gonna tell you, "Hey man, we don't deal with stuff like that. This is, we deal with only criminal stuff. We don't deal with only crimes, And but Nigeria, everything goes, right? Anything, the police can do everything except what they're supposed to do, except the job that they're supposed to do. They can do every other thing except the job that they're supposed to do, which is to protect human lives and property, right? They do everything except that, which is just ridiculous in Nigeria, right? You know, this story here says in a criminal complaint, man, this is just so laughable, man. In a criminal complaint unveiled during Mr. Farotimi's initial arraignment on Wednesday morning, the police quoted excerpts of the activist book that was published earlier this year, saying they portrayed senior lawyer Afe Babalola in an unsavory light with grave implications for public peace. Following initial arraignment, the judge remanded Mr. Farotimi in custody pending a bail hearing on December 10th. Mr. Babalola has long faced public criticism as one of the senior lawyers notorious for their ability to influence court judgments across the country, eroding public trust in the Nigerian judiciary. You know, it's ridiculous though. Someone says something against you, boom, you go arrest the person. Isn't that something though? You know, let's talk about the Drake and what's it called? The Drake and Kendrick Lamar's issue, right? Where Kendrick Lamar says, you know, he's been dealing with minors, right? Alleging that he's what would the term be now? You know, someone pedophile, right? Alleging that he's a pedophile, right? Drake is currently in court, even though that's also laughable because, you know, you're a rapper. It's not supposed, that's not what rappers do, right? That's not what rappers do, right? Rappers don't sue people, you know, and because they said something in the song, right? You know, that's also laughable. But at least that's what you do if you feel you've been defamed, if you feel someone has said something that you're not, right? That's what you do. That's the right thing to, not even the right thing. That's all you can do. But in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. Where, you know, you can just go call the police because you have some money or because you have some influence, and you go call the police and have someone arrested. It's just ridiculous, you know, trampling on people's rights and stuff. It's just ridiculous. Hey man, going by the experience amongst other factors explained in the book, Mr. Farotimi concluded that the criminality and complicity of the country's judiciary will not allow it to dispense true justice, which it has sworn to uphold. I mean, he's writing this stuff. Is it like we don't even know? I mean, everybody knows this about Nigeria, right? The judicial system is in the government's pockets. Look at the elections that just happened. Was it last year or last 2 years, right? General elections just happened. Go to court. And everybody, people who went to court, it was just a joke, right? Even with all the overwhelming evidence that was tendered in court, right? It was dismissed. It was not enough for them. It was dismissed. Because the judiciary system in Nigeria, this is not hidden. This is not a secret, right? It's obvious. That's why we can't move forward as a nation. The judiciary system is a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. The Supreme Court justices or judges or whatever, they're all in the pockets of politicians. And they do their biddings. Is this something that is it new? Is it news? It's not news though. It's obvious, right? Meanwhile, Mr. Farotimi has filed a suit at the Lagos High Court against his arrest by operatives of the police command in Ekiti. Okay, here's the thing, right? If you want to file a lawsuit against someone, it has to be where the person resides. You don't file a lawsuit and expect the person to come to the court where you reside. No, that's not how it's done. At least to my understanding anyway. If you have a case against someone, no problem. There's always a court around that person. There's always a court very close by to that person. File that lawsuit there and let the person go answer to that court, right? Right? Or answer to the suit there, right? But here's the joke in Nigeria. This Mr. Afe Babalola man, he sent the police. The police went to Lagos where Dele Farotimi lives and then kidnaps him, pretty much kidnapped him, right? We watched the video where he was abused, you know, his staff was abused, you know, that while he was taken away from his residence, right, in Lagos. He was kidnapped and taken to Ekiti. That's not how it's done, though. You want to file a lawsuit against someone, you don't file it in your own jurisdiction or in your own locality. No, you file it where the person resides. That's how it's done. At least that to the best of my knowledge, anyway. Hey man, it's just ridiculous, man. Previously, Mr. Babalola, who once donated millions of British pounds to advance human rights and education for African students at King's College, London, United Kingdom, had in a publication on Joseph Ayobaba. Oh man, I'm just butchering this name. I'm sorry. Had in a publication on Joseph Babalola University's website discouraged squabbles between two individuals being entertained in court, urging public interest to be considered. He said there ought to be some public interest concern, something affecting the crown or guardians of the public peace likely to be broken by the alleged libel or libel to justify the recourse by a private person to criminal remedy by way of indictment, if either by reason of the continued repetition or infamous character of libel, breach of the peace is likely to ensure, then the libeller should be indicted. But in the absence of any conditions, a personal squabble between two private individuals ought not to be permitted by grand juries, as indeed it is not permitted by sound law to be subject of a criminal indictment. Okay, so I don't know who this if it's his brother, if it's the same person, but this is what the person is saying. Say, hey, if someone is defaming you, right, it's not a criminal indictment. Hey, it's a at least that's to my understanding of this piece right here, right? Hey man, Nigeria is just a joke. Even the people who write the laws, they also go against the same laws that they write. That's the Nigeria we live in or we're from, right? And it's just ridiculous. But anyway, hey, free Dele Farotimi, because this guy has been speaking on the injustices that's been happening in Nigeria. So free that guy, man. Free Dele. And I heard there's going to be some protests going on to make sure he doesn't go to prison or jail or whatever, right? And shout out to everyone who's going to come out for that protest and make sure it happens, or make sure it doesn't, the arrest doesn't happen and stuff like that. Shout out to Dele Farotimi, man. Free Dele Farotimi. I'm just butchering your name. I'm sorry. I apologize.